For this assignment, we chose to analyze Ford Motor Company's water sustainability policy. Throughout this presentation, it will be explained why water sustainability is an important issue for the automotive industry, how Ford's policy works, evaluating its use of economic concepts, examining the evidence supporting its effectiveness, and finish with our overall assessment and recommendations for improvement. Ford Motor Company is one of the biggest car manufacturers in the world with factories in many different countries. It takes a lot of water to build cars, as the water is used to cool machines, clean parts, and paint vehicles during the manufacturing process. Since Ford makes so many vehicles every year, it ends up using a huge amount of water. That's where the environmental issue comes in. Ford's high freshwater use can put pressure on local water supplies, especially in places where water is already limited. When companies use too much water, it can also affect nearby communities and the environment. As a result of this, Ford has been working on ways to use less water and make its factories more sustainable, which is what their water sustainability policy is all about. Ford's water sustainability program is focused on using water more responsibly throughout its manufacturing plants. One of their main goals is to reduce the amount of fresh water the company uses by finding more efficient ways to make vehicles. Ford also recycles and reuses water whenever possible instead of always using new fresh water. The company also keeps track of how much water its factories are using to make sure they're meeting their goals and looking for ways to improve. Every year, Ford shares its progress in a sustainability report, which lets the public see how the company is doing and also helps hold them accountable for their environmental efforts. One of the biggest economic issues with water use is what's called a negative externality. Basically, that means a company's actions can have effects on other people or the environment that aren't included in the cost of making its products. In Ford's case, using large amounts of fresh water can lower the amount of water available for local communities, and if wastewater isn't managed properly, it can lead to pollution. That's why both businesses and the government care about water conservation. If companies use water more efficiently, it helps reduce these problems and benefits everyone. Even though it can cost companies more money upfront to install water-saving equipment, it can save money in the long run while also protecting the environment as well as the local communities. Ford has several reasons to invest in water sustainability. First, using less water can lower operating costs over time because the company spends less on water and wastewater treatment. It can also reduce the risk of fines or stricter regulations by staying ahead of environmental requirements. Another benefit is that it improves Ford's reputation, since many customers and investors like to support companies that care about the environment. Of course, there are trade-offs. Ford has to spend money on new equipment and technology, train employees on new systems, and make a large investment up front. In some cases, those added costs could even lead to slightly higher vehicle prices. Even with those challenges, Ford believes the long-term benefits are worth the investment. When looking at whether Ford's water sustainability policy is efficient, we believe the benefits outweigh the costs. One major benefit is that reducing water use can lower operating costs over time because Ford becomes more efficient with its resources. It also helps conserve water, protect healthier ecosystems, and improve the company's public image. However, the policy does come with some costs. Ford has to make large initial investments in new technology, upgrade equipment at manufacturing facilities, and train employees on new processes. even though these costs can be significant at the beginning, the long-term savings and environmental benefits make the policy a more efficient choice overall. To evaluate whether Ford's policy is actually working, we looked at the evidence and measurable results. Ford has reported a 24.8% reduction in freshwater use since 2019, showing that the company has made progress in lowering its water consumption. Since 2000, Ford has also saved around 225 billion gallons of water through its sustainability efforts. A specific example is Ford's Louisville plant, which was able to save about 5 million gallons of water and around $50,000 each year by improving its water efficiency. These results show that water sustainability efforts can have both environmental and economic benefits. While much of this data comes from Ford's own sustainability reports, the specific numbers and long-term tracking help support the credibility of their policy. Ford's water sustainability policy is considered credible because they provide a lot of information about their progress. They release annual sustainability reports, and their facilities track water use on a regular basis to see how much they are using and where they can improve. Ford also uses CDP reporting, which helps make their environmental information more transparent and allows others to review their progress. Another thing that makes the information more reliable is that a lot of their data is publicly available. However, there are still some limitations. Since most of the information comes directly from Ford, it is mostly self-reported, meaning we have to consider that the company may focus more on the positive results. Also, some areas like office buildings are not included in the data, so it may not show the full picture of all of Ford's water use. Overall, we believe Ford's water sustainability policy is effective because it has shown measurable results and provides both environmental and economic benefits. The company has been able to reduce water use while also lowering some operating costs, which shows that sustainability efforts can also make good business sense. Even though Ford has made progress, there are still ways the policy could be improved. One recommendation is for Ford to continue setting more ambitious water reduction goals so they keep improving over time. They could also increase accountability throughout their supply chain to make sure suppliers are following similar sustainability practices. Other improvements could include expanding rainwater harvesting and continuing to add water recycling systems to more facilities. Overall, Ford is moving in the right direction, but continued improvement will help make their policy even stronger.